Life is scary, you know? You're just going through the motions, never really sure how or where you land safely. It's like this chaotic cycle that keeps you on edge, kind of like being in a roller coaster, you know, breaking out, sweating, having hives. It's just very unamusing. One tiny mistake and boom, you're falling so hard you might not make it out alive. But you know what's even scarier? Adding the mistake of marrying an abusive partner to the mix. Jennifer Dulos' story is a little different though. She doesn't exactly face the usual life struggles. She grows up in comfort with the most tough decisions already made for her. But the one decision she does make, the choice of who to marry, is the one that is going to cost her everything. This is the story of Jennifer Dulos. Welcome to Fright Files Friday, where each week we'll uncover the haunting details of cases that have captivated our attention and left us questioning the darkness that lurks within humanity. On Fridays, of course, and if you guys care, my name is Dulos. So let's dive right in. Jennifer Farber Dulos was born on September 27th, 1968 in New York City. She is the second child of Gloria and Hilliard Farber, born into a wealthy family. Growing up, Jennifer is well loved and taken care of. She's the missing piece that completes the family, the one who makes them feel whole. Being from a wealthy family, she doesn't really have to thug it out like most people. She's extremely smart and driven and just has a natural ability to excel in whatever she does. And sure, her family is wealthy, but it isn't just their wealth that makes them famous. Jennifer's aunt, Elizabeth Claiborne, is the founder of Liz Claiborne Incorporations, a major name in the fashion industry. Jennifer's journey only gets more impressive from there. She graduated from Brown University in 1990 and then headed to New York University's Tisch School of Art, where she earned a master's degree in writing. But before finishing at Brown, Jennifer meets a guy named Fotis Dulos, who's also attending the university. Now, Fotis isn't exactly from the US. He's born in Turkey and raised in Athens, Greece. Like most people craving that American dream, he moves to the States in 1968 and graduates from Brown in 1989, just a year ahead of Jennifer, and then goes on to earn a master's degree in finance from Columbia Business School. Although Jennifer and Fotis meet at Brown, they don't immediately connect. Fotis actually meets someone else there, a woman named Hilary Vanessa Aldama, and they marry in Athens in June 2000. At that time, Jennifer and Fotis were just friends, nothing serious, but their marriage doesn't last. After just 4 years, Fotis and Hilary divorced in July 2004. And here's where things get interesting. 2004 is a pretty big year for Fotis. Not only did he get divorced, but he also founded his company, Four Group, a luxury home building company. And just a month after his divorce is finalized, he marries Jennifer. The divorce is pretty simple. They don't have any kids together, so it's filed under something like irreconcilable differences. But Jennifer and Fotis getting married so quickly after his divorce definitely raised some eyebrows. The truth finally comes to light. Jennifer and Fotis had been exchanging emails while he was still married to Hilary. And honestly, that looks like cheating. I'm not going to lie. But when you look at the timeline, their quick marriage makes more sense now. They already had something going on while he was married. And this affair had probably been brewing for a while for them to get married just a month after his divorce. Almost like they were waiting for the divorce to be finalized. After tying the knot, Jennifer and Fotis moved to Farmington, Connecticut, where they have 5 kids together, including 2 sets of twins. That's a lot of kids, but they seem to be handling it very well. And remember, Jennifer has that master's degree in writing, but it's not just something that she did, it's something that she absolutely loves. So she starts a blog called 5 Makes 7, named after her 5 kids, making the family of 7 complete, which I think is actually a really good name for a blog. Blogging back then was a big deal. Kind of like TikTokers and YouTubers now sharing their lives, but in text form, with maybe a few pictures here and there. Having her blog allows Jennifer to be a stay-at-home mom while still earning an income. And since she has kids and family, she has a specific niche to talk about: parenting, family life, and all that good stuff. So here's the picture-perfect family: stable income, 5 kids, a beautiful house in a nice neighborhood. loving grandparents, and a job that Jennifer loves. It all seems like a whirlwind of romance and perfection. They're happy, or so it seems. But then in 2012, something changes. Jennifer's blog, once full of cute family moments and funny parenting stories, starts to take a different turn. She begins writing things that readers interpret as trouble in their marriage. She writes things like, "I wish I were a strong person and that confrontation did not both scare and appall me." Well, despite these warning signs, it isn't until 5 years later in 2017 that Jennifer can't take it anymore. She files for divorce in June, but this time the divorce is far from simple. Unlike Fortis and his first wife Hillary, who both agreed to part ways, Jennifer's filing it alone, and at this time the 5 kids are involved. Along with the divorce, Jennifer also files for an emergency custody order for her 5 children. And that leaves us wondering, why? Isn't Fortis a good father? Doesn't he love his kids? They were the picture perfect family before, so what's changed? In her filing, Jennifer claims that she fears Fortis will harm the kids. She says he even threatened to kidnap them and take them overseas. Remember, Fortis isn't just an American guy. He's originally from Turkey and grew up in Athens, so he has very strong international ties. But what does Fortis have to say about all this? Well, we haven't heard his side yet. When asked about the custody order, Fortis claims Jennifer's accusations are baseless. He counters by saying her use of antidepressants are making her unfit to care for the children. Now, this is just the beginning of a long and tedious divorce and custody battle that will drag on for over 2 years. Then in March 2017, Jennifer claims that Fortis had been unfaithful for at least a year to a 44-year-old woman named Michelle Troconis, something Fortis can't even dispute in court. At least now, we know why Jennifer said she wished confrontation didn't appall her in that blog post. The couple separates, and it's decided in court that Jennifer and the kids will move into her parents' home in Pounds Ridge, New York. They also agreed that the kids will be enrolled in a private school in New Canaan, which is also where Jennifer rents a house. Now, you think this would be the end. Jennifer gets the divorce, the kids, and Fortis gets to be with his mistress. Everyone seems to get what they want, but no. Things are far from over. During the court proceedings, Jennifer starts raising even more disturbing concerns about Fortis. One of the big ones is his recent purchase of a handgun, which she fears he might use to hurt her or the kids. Fortis, of course, denies everything. He says he never threatened Jennifer or the kids and denies threatening to kidnap them. He claims Jennifer is the one who moved the kids from her parents' house without telling him. He also accuses her of keeping things from him, like switching the kids' pediatricians and signing one of their sons up for hockey without informing him. It's a mess. They're filing motions left and right, accusing each other of disparaging things. At some point, Fortis even claimed that Jennifer had called him a psychopath who didn't care about his kids and didn't work enough to provide for their family. Meanwhile, Jennifer says Fortis called her an unfit mother who should be locked away. It's clear this marriage was toxic, and the post-separation battle is even worse. In fact, during the early stages of the divorce, Jennifer wrote in her documents, "I know that filing for divorce and filing this motion will enrage him. I know he will try to retaliate by trying to harm me in some way." But what are we really missing here? Jennifer keeps pointing to the fact that she's scared for herself and the kids, worried that Fortis might hurt them. She even thinks the handgun he bought could be for that purpose. But throughout all this, there's no mention of Fortis being physically abusive. Even in his previous marriage, they got divorced on mutual terms, not because of abuse. At the start of 2018, Jennifer files for an emergency custody order again. This time, the judge rules that Fortis has broken multiple court orders. So Jennifer is awarded sole physical custody of their 5 children in March of 2018. Despite this, both parents share joint legal custody, meaning Fortis gets supervised visits and monitored phone calls with the kids. But the chaos doesn't stop there. Jennifer's mother, Gloria Farber, sues Fortis after Jennifer's father dies early in 2018, claiming he took a $1.7 million loan from the family and never paid it back. It turns out Jennifer wasn't exaggerating when she said Fortis wasn't exactly making enough money to cover their family's expenses. Most of the bills were probably paid by her wealthy family. Fast forward to May 24th, 2019, Jennifer starts the day like any other. She gets her kids ready for school and drops them off at New Canaan Country School. She's seen back home at 8:05 a.m., but later that morning, she's supposed to be at the doctor's appointment in New York City at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. She never shows up. It's not totally out of the ordinary for people to miss appointments, and with the drive between Connecticut and New York City, there's always a chance of delays. No alarms are raised at first. However, by 7 p.m. that evening, when Jennifer still hasn't shown up, two of her close friends, one of them named Lauren Almeida, who's also her nanny, filed a missing persons report. Lauren had actually stopped by the house around 11:30 a.m. but didn't find Jennifer. She assumed Jennifer was at her appointment, but something struck her as odd. Jennifer's Range Rover was still in the garage, but her Chevy Suburban was gone. Now, Jennifer never would have taken the Suburban to her appointment, so Lauren knew something was wrong. When no one could reach Jennifer and she didn't show up for the rest of the day, the missing persons report went in. The police arrive at the house and immediately find blood splatter on the floor, on the door, the walls, the garage, and even in the kitchen. Blood is found inside Jennifer's Range Rover, and DNA tests confirm most of the blood is hers. But there's one exception. The blood on the kitchen faucet is a mix of Jennifer's and Fortis's blood. Things are getting pretty dark. Surveillance footage backs up the blood evidence. The neighbor's camera catches Jennifer coming home at 8:05 a.m. but also captures Jennifer's Suburban leaving at 10 a.m. Investigators quickly figure out that it wasn't Jennifer driving. Now, they have blood, a suspicious car, and surveillance footage. It's starting to look like a crime scene. Later that evening, police catch Fortis on security footage dumping black garbage bags in Hartford, Connecticut. When they investigate, they find clothes that fit Jennifer, as well as ponchos and zip tie, all soaked in blood, and the blood matches Jennifer's DNA. But that's not all. In another angle of the surveillance video, a woman can be seen in the passenger seat of the truck while Fortis is tossing the bags. The woman is identified as Michelle Tronconis, Fortis's girlfriend and the mistress Jennifer had mentioned when she first filed for divorce. Now things take a major turn. Fortis is dumping evidence with Michelle, and the game has changed. On May 25th, the day after Jennifer disappears, Lauren recalls some very disturbing details in an interview. She remembers multiple instances where Jennifer seemed terrified of Fortis. The first incident she spoke about happened in June 2017. Lauren shows up at the house to work and finds Jennifer crying in the driveway. When she asks what's wrong, Jennifer tells her that Fortis tried to run her over with the car and had to jump out of the way. Who does that? Like, this is a new level of abuse. Like, but it gets worse. That same summer, Lauren says she witnessed Fortis chasing Jennifer throughout the house. Jennifer had to lock herself in a bedroom, and it wasn't until Lauren and one of their kids joined her that Fortis finally backed off. These are just incidents that Lauren witnessed, but Fortis could have been abusing Jennifer in ways no one else saw because she never told anyone. Jennifer wasn't the confrontational type, and she probably avoided anything that would stir up trouble. But now we understand why she was so scared. I mean, if someone tried to run me over, I'd be terrified too. 1 week before Jennifer went missing, her lawyer told investigators that Fortis had once again tried to get unsupervised visitation. Lauren also told police that on the night Jennifer disappeared, Fortis had asked her to bring the kids to him the next day. Lauren, being sharp, refused and told him that she'd need direct instructions from the police to do so. If Fortis had gotten the kids after Jennifer went missing, there's a real chance he could have fled the country, and those kids might never have been seen again. It's strange that Fortis will make such a request. Jennifer was always the one to handle drop-offs and pickups, and Fortis knew this. Yet here he is asking Lauren to step in, pretty confident that Jennifer wouldn't be able to do it again. It makes you wonder, does he have a hand in Jennifer's disappearance? As police keep a close watch on Fortis, they are working tirelessly to find Jennifer. They search numerous properties and bodies of water near Farmington, where Fortis is living, but there's no sign of Jennifer anywhere. Still, Fortis remains the prime suspect. On June 1st, 2019, both Fortis and Michelle are arrested at a hotel in Connecticut, charged with tampering with evidence and hindering prosecution. At the time, though, there wasn't enough evidence to bring more serious charges like homicide, Fortis' defense attorney is quick to argue that there's no solid evidence to back any of the charges, and he criticizes the media presuming the client's guilt before a trial. Despite the charges, Fortis and Michelle plead not guilty and are released on bond. Meanwhile, the judge grants temporary custody of their 5 children to Jennifer's mother, Gloria Farber. They stay with her in her 2-bedroom apartment in July 2019. In July 2019, Fortis spoke out in an interview. When asked, "What do you want people to know?" he says, "I want them to know that this is a very, very challenging time for my whole family, and we just have to be patient to get to the other side and see what happens." When asked about Jennifer's family, he adds, "I send my prayers. I had differences with Jennifer like many do in marriages, but that doesn't mean I wish her ill. People automatically assume the spouse did it, but I know what I've done and what I haven't done." But Fortis, we don't know what you've done or what you haven't done. The interview then asks if he has any thoughts about Jennifer's disappearance, and Fortis says, "I do, but I'd rather not speak about it today." As the interview continues and Fortis talks about their relationship before she disappears, "We were in contentious divorce," he admits, "but things stayed cordial. We spoke on the phone, met during drop-offs. 2 days before she disappeared, she invited me to her house to play a basketball game with the kids." The interviewer presses, "People say you wanted Jennifer out of the way," and Fortis shakes his head. "Even if I could get sole custody, I wouldn't take it. My kids need a relationship with their mother." He's calm, composed, and seems like just a regular guy with a divorce case that ended badly. But with the story we are dealing with here, it is clear that it did end badly. In September 29, Fortis and Michelle are arrested again, this time for tampering with evidence in Jennifer's disappearance. However, they quickly bond out once more. By October, Michelle's family steps in, moving her and her daughter out of the house she shared with Fortis. One of her bond conditions is no contact with him. Things go quiet for a while though, until the 7th of January 2020. That's when everything changes. Fortis is arrested at his home in Farmington and hit with the big charges: capital murder, murder and kidnapping, all tied to Jennifer's disappearance. Michelle is arrested the same day, charged with conspiracy to commit murder, though she pleads not guilty. Then things get even more complicated. Kent Mawini, a friend and attorney for Fortis, is also charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Police say he helped create a fake alibi for Fortis. In Windsor, hunters discover something odd: a shallow makeshift grave and bags of lime. Now, why would anyone need bags of lime? Well, lime is often used to bleach stains, like perhaps blood. Kent, who used to be a member of that housing club in Windsor, is linked to the site through his call phone data, and a witness who saw him asking about access to the property. He had even been told about a hidden key. When the club connects Kent to Jennifer's kit, they report the grave. Police bring in dogs to search the area, but no body or significant evidence is found. Still, police maintain Kent is tied to the grave. Kent's criminal history doesn't help his case. His ex-wife accused him of sexual assault, and he was arrested for violating a protective order meant to keep him away from her. So what do Fortis and Kent have in common? Honestly, to me, they are just two scumbags who seemed to find each other. Makes sense. I mean, birds of a feather flock together. While all this drama was going down, the police were busy piecing together a timeline and building their theory, because, spoiler alert, they didn't buy Fortis and Michelle's story were innocent act. Let's rewind to May 24th, 2019. Neighbors see Jennifer Suburban leave her house at 10:30 a.m. Her car is later found abandoned near Waveney Park. But here's where things take a little twist. Police believe Fortis took an employee's Toyota truck from that morning and drove it into New Canaan, Connecticut. Surveillance footage shows the truck passing a school bus at 7:57 a.m., just a few hundred feet from where Jennifer's car would be abandoned. But it gets crazier. In the back of the truck, police spot a bike. The theory is that Fortis parks the truck at Waveney Park, bikes 3 miles to Jennifer's house, and waits for her. When she arrives around 8:05 a.m., that's when the police believes Fortis attacked her. By 10:30 a.m., Jennifer Suburban is seen leaving the house again. Investigators suspect Fortis is driving with Jennifer's lifeless body inside, taking her to a park, swapping her into Tacoma's car, and heading back to Farmington. Then Michelle gets involved. She tells police that she and Fortis had lunch together that afternoon, then went to clean one of his properties. But surveillance footage shows them later that they're cruising around in the same vehicles. Fortis in the Tacoma, Michelle in the other car. They go to a car wash and detail the truck like they're cleaning up more than just dirt. And to make it worse, Fortis is caught on camera withdrawing cash to pay for the detailing. It's like he's trying to make everything untraceable. Despite all their attempts to cover up, Jennifer's DNA is still found on the passenger seat of the truck. And here's when the law should be questioned in all of this. Despite all of this evidence, all the morning charges, Fortis was still allowed to make bail over and over again. And all you have to ask yourself is, how is that even possible? This time, Fortis's bond is set at $6 million and somehow he comes up with it. The next day, he's released, but there are conditions. No contact with his kids, no contact with the nanny, and he's ordered back to court on February 28th. But here's the thing. Fortis's attorney, Norm Pattis, tells the press, "We very much want to try this case. Mr. Dulos wants to clear his name. There doesn't seem to be a crime scene weapon. What we have is a suspicious disappearance and an entirely circumstantial case." Yeah, sure. Fortis is out here trying to spin the whole thing, painting himself as the victim, claiming all of this has just been tough on his family. And listen to this, he even talks about how the public sees him. He says, people that don't know me, they probably look at me as a monster. A monster? You don't say, Fortis. It's not like being accused of murdering your wife has a way of giving good public opinion. At this point, you might think you've heard it all with this case, but it gets even wilder. Fortis and his team start floating a theory, something straight out of Gone Girl. They're suggesting Jennifer staged her own disappearance. Could she be alive? Did she set this all up? They're asking these questions like it's some big mystery, all while ignoring the mountains of evidence pointing straight at Fortis. It's desperate, it's insulting, and honestly, it's infuriating. On January 28th of 2020, an emergency bond hearing is scheduled. Fortis is supposed to show up, but he doesn't. Police rush to his home in Farmington, and when they get there, they find him unresponsive in his car. He's tried to take his own life, poisoning himself with carbon monoxide by running a vacuum hose from his SUV's exhaust into the car. Paramedics find a faint pulse and rush him to the Yukon Medical Center. From there, he's airlifted to Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx for hyperbaric oxygen therapy. His children, just 8 to 13 years old, are allowed to visit him one last time before he's taken off life support. And on the 30th of January 2020 at 5:32 p.m., Fortis Dulos was pronounced dead at 52 years old. Fortis's family comes in from Greece, and in a final act of generosity, they donate his organs. But the thing is, none of this changes the fact that Jennifer is still missing. Fortis's death doesn't bring her back, and none of these theatrics change the fact that Jennifer is still missing. Before he died, Fortis left a note in his car. And in this note, he insists that he's innocent, writing, "I refuse to spend even an hour in jail for something I had nothing to do with." But here's the question. Did Fortis take his own life because he knew the walls were closing in and this was some way of keeping the truth buried forever? Even in death, the case doesn't end. Norm Pattis, Fortis's lawyer, keeps pushing the narrative that Fortis was framed. He claims someone else killed Jennifer, dumped her bloody clothes on Fortis's porch, and Fortis just got rid of them. This theory was honestly one of the most ridiculous excuses I've ever heard. I mean, come on, if someone else did this, how did Fortis not touch the clothes? Leave fingerprints or leave his own DNA? It was a terrible defense that frankly no one was buying. Then there's Fortis's suicide note. It splits opinion right down the middle. Some see it as his last stand to declare innocence, while others think it's pure narcissism, a way to die without revealing the truth. And it leaves you questioning, what was he hiding and why was he so desperate to keep it buried? 2 months after Fortis's death in March 2020, a judge dismissed the murder charges against him. Not an acquittal, just a technical move because you can't prosecute a dead man. But that doesn't stop Norm Pattis. He keeps fighting, insisting Fortis was innocent even though the evidence and the terrible defense tell a different story. Then there's Michelle after Fortis's death. The spotlight shifts to her and Ken. Both face charges, though delays drag the case for years. Michelle insists she knows nothing about Jennifer's disappearance. She even tells the press whether or not Fortis Dulos was capable of doing the things police and prosecutors accuse him of. I do not know, but I think it was a mistake to have trusted him. Fast forward to now, and Michelle's legal team is still fighting to move her trial to Hartford, claiming pre-trial publicity has poisoned potential jurors. Meanwhile, she's out here living under relaxed house arrest conditions, even getting her GPS ankle monitor removed. And through it all, Michelle pleads not guilty. She wants a jury trial. She claims she's innocent, but with everything we know, it's hard not to wonder, does she really believe that? So we are here years later and Jennifer's case is still tangled in legal drama. Michelle's lawyers are busy fighting over evidence, specifically cell phone data pulled from Dulos' home. They are calling it an overreach, arguing that the warrant was too broad since Jennifer's presumed attack happened at her house, not Fortis's. The estate pushes back, saying it doesn't make the warrant invalid. Meanwhile, the judge delays any rulings, stretching this case out even further. And it's like watching a never-ending chess game where no one's willing to make the final move. Michelle's involvement is a tough one to pin down, and her story, it's changed more than a few times over the years. She's always claimed she had nothing to do with Jennifer's disappearance, and her family is right there backing her up. They're like, she could never do something like this. But then we've got those surveillance footages, and no one sees Michelle disposing of anything incriminating. So her defense comes up with the explanation that the only reason her DNA was found on the trash bags is because Fortis spilled coffee in the truck and asked her to toss the napkins. I mean, seriously, no one sees a spilled coffee cup, but somehow Michelle's DNA magically ends up on these bags. That's a stretch. Here's the thing. Though maybe her shifting storylines are just a way of protecting Fortis. Maybe she really didn't know what he was up to, or maybe she knew more than she was willing to admit. Maybe she wasn't part of the actual crimes, but she played a role in cleaning up the mess. Think about it. The DNA on the bags, the footage of her being in the right place at the right time. It all fits if she got caught up in the cover-up. Maybe she loved Fortis so much that she was willing to do whatever it took to protect him. And then there's Kent Smawini. His journey through the legal system is just as messy. Arrested for tampering with his GPS monitor, he spent months in jail before finally getting house arrest. By mid-2023, he's out and about, ankle monitor still on, waiting for a trial date that feels like it will never come. But in the midst of all of this chaos, some good came from Jennifer's story. In 2021, Connecticut passed Jennifer's law, expanding the definition of domestic violence to include coercive control, something Jennifer likely endured. It's a small step toward justice, but it doesn't answer the question that haunts her 5 children: what happened to their mother? The case of Jennifer Dulos still remains unsolved to this day, and her body has never been found. Jennifer's case is a chilling reminder of how easily stories like hers slip through the cracks. For now, the truth remains hidden, just like Jennifer.